Everyone desires me, but I choose you, human," the alien princess announced. The stars burned cold in the endless black of space as the human colony ship drifted through the outer rim of the galaxy. Nobody on board knew they were being watched from a distance that would take light itself hours to cross. Aboard the vessel named the Wandering Hope, Lieutenant Jake Morgan sat in the observation deck staring at the swirling colors of a nearby nebula. He had been assigned to this mission 3 years ago, and every day felt longer than the last. The ship carried 5,000 colonists searching for a new home. After Earth had become too crowded and polluted to sustain its growing population, Jake was not special among the crew. He fixed things. When they broke, he ran diagnostics on the life support systems, and he kept to himself most of the time. At 32 years old, he had brown hair that always seemed messy, green eyes that had seen too much disappointment, and a quiet way of moving through the world that made people forget he was there. But someone had noticed him far across the void in a vessel that gleamed like liquid silver. The princess of the Zeltharian Empire stood before a viewing screen that showed the human ship in perfect detail. Her name was Lyrana, and she was considered the most beautiful being in 7 star systems. Her skin shimmered with a soft violet glow that changed shade with her emotions. Her eyes were large and luminous, colored like amethyst, and her hair flowed down her back in waves that seemed to move on their own even in still air. She wore robes of white and gold that marked her royal status. Beside her stood 3 of her suitors, each one a powerful figure in galactic politics. The first was Commander Zethus of the Kryn Federation, a warrior race known for their strength and honor. He stood nearly 8 feet tall with crimson skin and 4 arms, each one capable of crushing steel. His eyes burned with golden fire, and his voice rumbled like thunder when he spoke. "I have conquered 12 worlds in your name, Princess Zethus," said, his tone formal and proud. "My fleet numbers 10,000 ships, and my warriors would die at your command. Choose me, and the Zeltharian Empire will have the greatest military force in the galaxy at its disposal." The second suitor was Counselor Varen of the Ethon Collective, a race of beings made of pure energy who took physical form only when necessary. He appeared as a tall figure wrapped in flowing blue light, his features shifting and hard to focus on but undeniably striking the Ethon. Controlled the richest trade routes in known space. "I offer you wealth beyond measure," Princess Varen said smoothly, his voice like music. "My people control resources that could make your empire prosper for 1,000 generations. Choose me, and poverty will never touch your worlds." The third was High Scholar Draken of the Methari, a race of telepaths and scientists who had unlocked secrets of the universe that others could barely comprehend. He had silver skin that reflected light like a mirror, and eyes that seemed to see through everything his kind had developed. Technology so advanced it appeared as magic to less developed civilizations. "I offer you knowledge," Princess Draken said quietly. "My people can extend your life indefinitely. We can cure any disease, unlock any mystery of the cosmos. Choose me, and death itself will bow before you." Lyrana listened to each of them with a patient expression. She had heard these offers and dozens like them many times before. Suitors came from every corner of the galaxy, seeking her hand in marriage. Not because they loved her, but because marrying her would give them claim to the Zeltharian throne and control over an empire that spanned 300 star systems. She turned away from them and looked back at the viewing screen at the small human ship drifting through space. "What do the humans offer?" the princess asked suddenly. The 3 suitors exchanged confused glances. "Humans," Zethus said with barely concealed disgust. "They are primitives. Princess, barely capable of traveling beyond their own star system. They have no empire, no great technology, no resources worth mentioning. Why do you even watch them?" "Because they interest me," Lyrana said simply. She had been observing humanity for 6 months now, ever since a scout ship had discovered them. The reports fascinated her. Humans were weak by galactic standards. They had no natural armor, no telepathic abilities, no energy manipulation. They were soft and fragile and lived such short lives, but they were also stubborn, creative, and unpredictable. They had survived wars, diseases, natural disasters, and their own worst impulses they created. Art and music that moved the soul they loved fiercely and fought harder. They dreamed of stars they could not reach, and then built ships to take them there anyway. and this one particular human had caught her attention. She zoomed in the viewing screen until it showed Jake Morgan sitting alone in the observation deck. She had watched him many times now. She saw how he worked with quiet competence, how he helped others without seeking recognition, how he stared at the stars with a longing that matched her own. "He does not even know I exist," she said softly. "And yet I think about him every day." The suitors were horrified. "Princess." "This is madness," Varen said urgently. "You cannot be serious about a human. They are nothing compared to what we offer." Lirana turned to face them, her eyes flashing with anger that made her skin glow brighter. "You offer me things I already have," she said coldly. "Armies, wealth, knowledge, power. I have all of these, but none of you offer me what I truly want." "And what is that?" Draken asked carefully. "To be seen," she said simply. "Not as a princess, not as a prize to be won, but as a person. Someone who has thoughts and dreams and fears of her own. You look at me and see only what I can give you." She pointed at the screen at Jake. "He does not even know I exist, and yet when I watch him I see someone who understands loneliness. Someone who knows what it means to be invisible. I want to know if he would see me. Truly. See me. Not my crown or my power. But this is foolishness." This growled. "Humans are beneath you." Lirana raised one hand and the commander fell silent against his will. "I'm the crown princess of the Zeltharian Empire," she said quietly, "and that means I decide my own fate. I will go to that ship, and I will meet this human. And I will know if what I feel has meaning." "You cannot be serious," Varen said. But his voice was uncertain now. Lirana smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Watch me." She turned and walked away from them, her robes flowing behind her, leaving three of the most powerful beings in the galaxy staring after her in shock, aboard the Wandering Hope. Jake Morgan had no idea his life was about to change forever. He sat in the observation deck drinking coffee from a metal cup and trying not to think about how much he missed Earth. He missed trees and rain and the feeling of wind on his face. He missed his sister who had stayed behind with her family. He missed having a purpose beyond just existing. The door to the observation deck opened, and Amy Rodriguez walked, and she was the ship's head of security. A tough woman with short black hair and suspicious eyes. "Jake," she said, nodding to him. "Ami," he replied. "You ever think about why we're out here?" she asked. Sitting down next to him, Jake shrugged. "Every day." She laughed. "Softly, me too. I signed up thinking it'd be an adventure. Turns out space is mostly just empty and boring. Better than Earth, though." Jake said, "At least out here we have room to breathe." Ami nodded. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, just watching the stars. Then the alarm started blaring. Both of them jumped to their feet as red warning lights flashed throughout the ship. "What the hell?" Jake said. Ami's hand went to the weapon at her belt. "Unidentified vessel approaching fast," she said, reading the display on the wall. "This can't be good." They ran together toward the bridge, joining dozens of other crew members who were rushing to their stations. The captain was already there, a gray-haired woman named Helen Foster who had been in the military. Before joining the Colonial Fleet, report, she barked. "Unknown ship just appeared on sensors," said the tactical officer. "A young man named Chris. Someone, it came out of nowhere. Captain just materialized right in front of us." On screen, Helen ordered. The main display lit up, showing a vessel that made everyone on the bridge gasp. It was enormous, at least 10 times the size of their colony ship, and it gleamed like polished silver with designs that seemed to shift and change as they watched. Lights pulsed along its hull in patterns that were almost hypnotic. "That's not human technology," Amy whispered. "No, it's not," Helen said grimly. "Open a channel." The communications officer worked her controls for a moment, then nodded. "Channel open. Captain, this is Captain Helen Foster of the human colony ship Wandering Hope," she said clearly. "We come in peace and mean no harm to anyone." For a long moment there was only static. Then a voice replied, and everyone on the bridge felt their hearts skip a beat because it spoke perfect English with an accent that sounded like music. "Greetings, humans. I am Princess Lirana of the Zeltharian Empire. I come alone and unarmed. I wish to board your vessel and speak with one of your crew." The bridge erupted in confused conversation. Helen raised her hand for silence. "May I ask why, Princess, there is a human aboard your ship that I wish to meet?" The voice said. "His name is Jake Morgan." Every head on the bridge turned to look at Jake. He felt his stomach drop. What he said stupidly, "How? Do you know my name? I have been watching you." The princess said simply, "I wish to speak with you in person. Will you allow me to board?" Helen looked at Jake with raised eyebrows. "It's your call." Jake felt like he was in a dream or maybe a nightmare. An alien princess wanted to meet him speckif. Luckily, this had to be some kind of joke or trap. "Why me?" he asked. "Because you interest me." Lyrana replied as if that explained everything. I leaned close to Jake and whispered, "This could be dangerous. Everything out here is dangerous." Jake said then. He raised his voice fine. "You can board, but just you, no guards, no weapons," agreed, the princess said. "I will arrive in 5 minutes. Please prepare a docking port." The channel closed and the bridge exploded with noise again. "Captain, we should have security." "Standing by," Amy said urgently. "This could be a tricklin'." Nodded agreed. "But we play nice unless she gives us reason not to. Morgan, go to docking bay 3 and meet our guest. I'll have a security team nearby, but out of sight." Jake swallowed hard. "Yes, Captain." The next 5 minutes felt like 5 hours. Jake stood in the docking bay with Amy and 4 other security officers positioned behind crates where they could respond quickly if needed. The bay was cold and smelled like metal and recycled. A small shuttle appeared in the docking bay window, moving with impossible grace. It was silver like the larger ship and made no sound at all as it settled onto the landing pad. The airlock cycled and the shuttle door opened. Jake forgot how to breathe. The woman who stepped out was the most beautiful creature he had ever seen. She glowed softly in the dim light of the docking bay, her violet skin seeming to shimmer with inner light. Her eyes found his immediately, and she smiled. "Jake Morgan," she said. Walking toward him, her voice was warm and real. Nothing like the mechanical tone that had come through the radio earlier. "That's me," he managed to say. She stopped a few feet away from him, studying his face with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. "You are exactly as I imagined," she said softly. Jake glanced at Amy, who was watching the princess with her hand on her weapon. "I don't understand," he said, turning back to Lyrana. "Why me? What do you want?" Lyrana tilted her head. The gesture was so human it caught him off guard. "I want to know you," she said simply. "I have watched you for months now. I have seen how you work, how you help others, how you sit alone and dream of things you cannot have. I have seen your kindness and your loneliness, and I find myself drawn to you." "This is crazy," Jake said, shaking his head. "You're a princess from what sounds like a pretty important empire, and I'm just a maintenance guy on a colony ship. We have nothing in commando." "We not?" Lyrana asked. She moved closer, her eyes never leaving his. "We are both alone." Jake Morgan, surrounded by people and yet always apart. "We both understand what it means to be invisible, to be valued for what we do, but not for who we are." Jake felt something twist in his chest because she was right behind. Lyrana, the docking bay door opened and 3 figures entered. They were clearly not human and they looked angry. "Princess Zethys?" the warrior growled. "You cannot be serious about this." Lyrana turned to face them, her expression hardening. "I told you to remain on the ship. We could not let you go through with this madness." Baron said, the energy being flickered with agitation. "These humans are nothing." The third one, Draken. The silver-skinned telepath looked directly at Jake with those mirror eyes. "This one has potential," he admitted, "but he is still far beneath you." "Princess." Jake felt anger rise in his chest. "Hey," he said, stepping forward. "I'm standing right here." This laughed. "It was not a pleasant sound the human speaks. Does it think it's worthy of addressing us?" Jake felt Amy's hand on his shoulder, warning him to stay calm, but he shook it off. "I don't know who you are," he said to the 3 aliens. "And I don't care. But this is our ship and you don't get to come here and insult us, eh?" This stepped forward, all 4 arms flexing. "You dare enough," Lyrana said sharply. Her skin flared bright purple and suddenly the air in the docking bay felt heavy with power. Zethys froze in place as if held by invisible chains. The princess looked at her 3 suitors. With cold fury, "I have made my position clear," she said softly. You offer me armies, wealth, and knowledge. But this human offers me something. None of you can. And what is that? Varen asked bitterly. Respect, she said simply. She turned back to Jake, her expression softening. Jake Morgan, I have come here to ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly. Okay, Jake said warily. If I were not a princess, she said, if I had no power or wealth or status, if I were simply Lyrana, would you want to know me? Jack stared at her. Everyone in the docking bay was watching him, waiting for his answer. He thought about the question. Really thought about it. This woman had crossed space to meet him. She had defied expectations and powerful suitors. She had defended him without hesitation. Yeah, he said finally. I think I would. Lyrana smiled, and in that moment she was the most beautiful thing in the universe. Then that is enough, she said. What? Jake asked, confused. She reached out and took his hand. Her skin was warm and smooth. I choose you, she said clearly. Everyone desires me for what I am, what I can give them. You see me for who I am. That is worth more than all the empires in the galaxy. The three suitors erupted in protest. Princess, this is insane. This roared. You will start a war. Varen warned. This human will die in a fraction of your lifetime. Dracon said coldly. What future can you have? Lyrana did not look away from Jake. That is for us to decide, she said. Helen Foster's voice came over the intercom. Everyone to the bridge now. We have multiple ships appearing on sensors. The docking bay shook as something impacted the shields. What was that? Amy shoutedly. Reyna closed her eyes for a moment, then looked at her suitors with disgust. You brought your fleets, she said. Came to protect you, Zetha said. But now the humans see we will not let them keep you. More impacts rocked the ship. Alarms blared throughout the Wandering Hope. Captain Helen came back over the intercom. We're being targeted by 3 separate battle groups. This is not a fight we can win. Jake felt panic rising. No, he said, looking at Lyrana. You have to stop this. We have families on this ship. Children. Lyrana squeezed his hand, then let go. She turned to face her suitors, and when she spoke, her voice carried absolute authority. Stand down immediately, she commanded all of you. We cannot, Princess Varen said. The other 2 have already opened fire. If we do not respond, we appear weak. Then let them fire on each other, Lyrana said coldly. But if any of you harm this human vessel, I will personally ensure your civilizations regret it. The 3 suitors hesitated. You would choose them over your own people? Zethus asked. I choose peace over pride, Lyrana said. But if you force my hand, I will show you why. The Zeltharian Empire has endured for 10,000 years. Dracon studied her for a long moment, then inclined his head. As you wish, Princess, he said. Withdraw my fleet. The Mytheri ships on the sensors began to pull back. Varen flickered with frustration, but nodded. The Ethon will complies. This stood firm, Neverly. Reyna raised her hand, and the warrior was lifted off the ground by invisible force. You will stand down, she said quietly, or I will remove you from command permanently. After a moment, Zethus growled his submission when Lyrana released him. He stormed back to the shuttle without another word. The other 2 suitors followed, looking defeatedly. Reyna turned back to Jake. Are you all right? Jake laughed shakily. No, I'm pretty far from all right. An alien princess just chose me over 3 galactic leaders and almost started a war. What part of that is all rightly? Reyna smiled sadly. I have put you in danger. I am sorry. The ship stopped shaking. The alarms went silent. Captain Helen came over the intercom. Again, all ships are withdrawing. We are secure. I don't know what just happened, but thank you, Princess. You are welcome, Captain Lyrana said. Then she looked at Jake with an expression of uncertainty that seemed strange on someone so powerful. I should go, she said. My presence here endangers you. Wait, Jake said, surprising himself. Reyna paused. You came all this way, he said. You stood up to those guys. You chose me. Why would you leave now? Because I am selfish, Lyrana said softly. I wanted to meet you, to know if what I felt was real, but I did not consider the cost to you or your people. You did not ask for any of this. No, I didn't, Jake agreed, but now that you're here, I want to understand why. What do you see in Lyrana moved closer to him again? See someone who does good without seeking reward. She said someone who is kind when no one is watching. Someone who dreams of more but accepts what he has with grace. I see someone who might understand what it means to be lonely, even when surrounded by people. Jake felt his throat tighten because everything she said was true. "And what do you want from me?" he asked. "Right now," Lyrana said simply. "I want to talk with you, to know your thoughts, your stories, your dreams. I want to sit with you in that observation deck and watch the stars together. I want to be Lyrana, not Princess Lyrana, not a prize or a political tool. Just myself." Jake looked at Amy, who shrugged with an expression that said, "It's your funeral." "Okay," Jake said to Lyrana. "Let's talk." They walked together through the ship toward the observation deck. People stared as they passed, whispering and pointing, but Jake tried to ignore them. Lyrana seemed unbothered by the attention, as if she was used to being watched. When they reached the observation deck, it was empty. The stars filled the large windows, painting everything in soft light. They sat down together, and for a while neither spoke. "Your ship is beautiful," Lyrana said finally. "It is small, but well-maintained. You care for it, don't have much choice." Jake said, "If something breaks out here, we can exactly call for help, so we take care of what we have. That is wisdom." Lyrana said, "On my world, we have so much that we forget to value anything people see, only what they can gain, never what they have." "Sounds lonely," Jake said. "It is," Lyrana agreed. She looked at him. "Then tell me, Jake Morgan, what do you dream of?" Jake thought about it. "Honestly, I don't know anymore. When I was young, I dreamed of adventure, of seeing the galaxy, meeting new people, discovering amazing things, but out here it's mostly just maintenance work and staring at empty space. The adventure turned out to be pretty boring. Yet you still look at the stars with wonder," Lyrana observed. "I have seen you." Jake shrugged. "Habit, I guess, or hope. Maybe that something interesting is still out there. And now something interesting has arrived," Lyrana said with a slight smile. Jake laughed. "Yeah, you could say that. So what about you? What does an alien princess dream about?" "Freedom," Lyrana said immediately. "To make my own choices, to be valued for myself rather than my title, to find someone who sees me truly." "Sounds like we want the same things," Jake said. Lyrana nodded. "We do. That is why I think we could understand each other in ways others cannot." They talked for hours. Jake told her about Earth, about his sister, about why he joined the colony mission. Lyrana told him about her empire, about the pressures of being royalty, about how exhausting it was to always be perfect. The ship around them settled. Into night cycle, lights dimmed. Crew members went to their quarters, leaving the observation deck empty, except for the two of them. Eventually, Jake asked the question that had been bothering him. "What happens now?" Lyrana was quiet for a moment. "I do not know," she admitted. "I have broken many rules by coming here, by choosing you. My people will be upset. The Galactic Council will be in chaos. The political consequences could last for years. Do you regret it?" Jake asked. "No," Lyrana said firmly. "I regret nothing. Meeting you has been worth any cost," but Jake said hesitantly. "We barely know each other, and you're going to leave eventually, right? You have responsibilities." "Yes," Lyrana said sadly. "I cannot abandon my people, no matter how much I might wish to." "So this is just one conversation," Jake said, trying to keep the disappointment out of his voice. "Unless," Lyrana said slowly. "Unless what?" "Unless you come with me." Jake stared at her. "What, come with me?" Lyrana repeated, gaining enthusiasm. "Join me on my ship, travel with me through the galaxy." "Yes, I have duties, but I also have freedom to explore, to learn, to choose my companions. You could see wonders you have never imagined, meet species from 1,000 worlds, experience things no human has ever known." "And what would I be?" Jake asked. "Your consort, your pet human, you would be my friend?" Lyrana said quietly, "And perhaps in time something more if we both wished it. But I would never force you. I offer this because I want to know you better, because I think we could be happy together." "This is insane," Jake said. "Sit," Lyrana asked. "You said yourself that life on this ship is boring, that you dream of adventure. I am offering you exactly what you wished for, and my crew." Jake asked, "What about them?" "They will be safer without me near them," Lyrana said honestly. "My presence attracts attention, power, politics. If I leave, they can continue their journey in peace." Jake stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. He thought about his life on the wandering hope, the endless routine, the loneliness, the feeling that he was wasting his potential. Then he thought about Lyrana, about her courage and honesty, about the way she had defended him, about how she made him feel seen, truly seen for the first time in years. It was crazy, completely insane to leave everything he knew to travel with an alien princess into unknown space. But then again, he had left Earth for exactly that kind of crazy adventure. He turned back to her. "Oh, Kaylee." Rana's eyes widened. "Truly?" Jake nodded. "Yeah, truly, I mean, if I'm going to be bored and lonely, I might as well do it while seeing amazing things rightly." Rana stood up quickly, moving to him. She took both his hands in hers, and her smile was radiant. "You will not regret this," she said. "I better not," Jake said with a nervous laugh. They made arrangements quickly. Jake packed his few belongings and said goodbye to the crew. Amy hugged him hard and told him to be careful. Helen shook his hand and said he was either very brave or very stupid. Both. Probably, Jake agreed. Within a few hours, he stood in the docking bay again, this time carrying a small bag with everything he owned. Lyrana waited by her shuttle. "Ready?" she asked. "No," Jake said. "But let's go anyway." They boarded the shuttle together, and Jake watched through the window as the wandering hope grew smaller behind them. "What have I done?" he whispered. "Something wonderful." Lyrana said beside him. The silver ship grew larger ahead of them, and Jake felt his heart racing with fear and excitement. Inside, the vessel was beyond anything Jake had imagined, hallways that seemed to be made of light rooms that changed configuration based on need, technology that responded to thought rather than touch. Lyrana gave him quarters near her own rooms that were larger than his entire apartment back on Earth rest. She said gently, "We have a long journey ahead and much to discuss, but for now you should sleep. Everything is new and overwhelming." "I understand," Jake nodded numbly. "Yeah, sleep sounds good, Lee." Rana hesitated at the door, then looked back at him. "Thank you," she said softly, "for choosing me as I chose you." Jake managed a smile. "You're welcome." When she left, he sat on the bed, which adjusted itself automatically to his body shape, and stared at the walls. "What the hell have I gotten into?" he thought. But despite his anxiety, despite the fear and uncertainty, he felt something else too. Hope. Over the following weeks, Jake settled into his new life aboard Lyrana's ship. He learned basic galactic common language with the help of a translation device. He met the crew, who were surprisingly welcoming considering he was a primitive human. He explored the ship and marveled at technology that seemed like magic. And he spent time with Lyrana. They talked for hours. Every day she taught him about galactic politics, history, culture. He told her about human art, literature, philosophy. They discovered they both loved music, though their definitions of harmony were very different. They found they shared a sense of humor that transcended species. Slowly, carefully, something grew between them. One day, about a month after Jake joined the ship, Lyrana invited him to the command deck. They were approaching a nebula. She wanted him to see. "It's called the Crystal Veil," she explained, as they stood together watching the view screen. "It is one of the most beautiful sights in this sector." The nebula appeared before them, a swirling mass of colors, blues and purples and pinks, all mixing together with stars twinkling through like diamonds. It took Jake's breath away. "It's incredible," he whispered. Yes, Lyrana agreed, but she was looking at him, not the nebula. Jake noticed and turned to face her. "What?" She smiled. "I was simply thinking how much more beautiful this is with you here to share it." Jake felt his heart beat faster. "Lyrana, we should talk about this, about us." "Yes," Lyrana said softly. "We should." "What are we doing?" Jake asked. "I mean, I know what I feel, but this is complicated. You're a princess, I'm a human. We come from completely different worlds. Does any of that truly matter?" Lyrana asked. Jake ran his hand through his hair too. "Some people. Yeah, your people. My people. They might not understand them. Fail to understand," Lyrana said, stepping closer. "I have spent my entire life doing what others expected, being what they needed. I am tired. Jake, I am tired of being alone, tired of pretending that power and duty are enough. I want something real." "And you think this is real?" Jake asked, gesturing between them. "I know it is," Lyrana said, taking his hand. "Do you not feel it?" "Yeah," Jake admitted, "I do, but I'm scared this could go wrong in so many ways." "Everything worth having involves risk," Lyrana said. Jake looked at their joined hands, his pale skin against her violet glow, so different and yet fitting together. "Perfectly okay," he said. "Then let's try." Let's see where this goes, Lyrana smiled, and in that moment Jake knew he had made the right choice. They grew closer over the following months. Jake accompanied Lyrana on diplomatic missions to various worlds. He saw wonders that no human had ever witnessed. Cities floating in clouds, oceans of liquid crystal forests where trees sang in harmony. He also saw the political challenges Lyrana faced, other empires testing boundaries, rebellious factions within her own territory, the constant pressure of maintaining peace across hundreds of worlds. Through it all, Jake tried to help. He had no political training, no military background, but he had common sense and a fresh perspective. Sometimes that was enough, or then once Lyrana told him that his presence made her stronger. His support meant more than armies or treaties. Their relationship became known across the galaxy. Some celebrated it as a symbol of unity between species. Others condemned it as inappropriate, or even scandalous. The three suitors who had pursued Lyrana were particularly bitter. Zeth sent threatening messages. Varen tried economic pressure. Dracon attempted to use telepathic influence to change her mind. Lyrana rejected all of them firmly. "Have made my choice," she announced publicly. "Jake Morgan has proven himself to be honorable, kind, and brave. He has stood beside me asking nothing in return. He has shown me respect and partnership, not seeking to control or possess me. This is what I value." The Galactic Council demanded a meeting concerned about political stability. Lyrana agreed and insisted Jake accompany her. The council chamber was enormous, a sphere of crystal where representatives from 100 species floated in designated sections. Light filled the space, making everyone visibly. Reyna and Jake stood together in the center while council members questioned them. Princess, the head counselor, said, "A being made of crystalline structures. You understand our concern. Your choice of companion creates complications." "My personal life is my own," Lyrana replied. "But you are not simply a person," the counselor argued. "You are the heir to the Zeltharian Empire. Your choices have consequences. Then let those consequences fall on me." Lyrana said, "I have broken no laws. I have neglected no duties. My empire prospers. My people are at peace. What more do you want? We want stability." Another counselor called out, "This human will die in decades. What then? Then I will grieve." Lyrana said simply, "But I will also have lived truly for a time. Is that not worth something?" The council murmured among themselves. Jake cleared his throat. "Excuse me." The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to him. "With respect," Jake said, trying not to sound as nervous as he felt. "I think you're all missing something." "What is that?" the head counselor asked. "You're treating Lyrana like she's just a symbol or a tool, but she's a person. She has feelings, dreams, hopes. You want her to sacrifice her happiness for politics, for stability. But what kind of life is that?" "A life of duty," another counselor said. "And duty is important." Jake agreed, "But so is joy. So is love. So is actually living instead of just existing. Lyrana has given everything to her empire. Doesn't she deserve something for herself?" There was a long silence. Finally, an old counselor spoke up, a being that looked like Livingstone. "I fought in the War of Seven Suns," he said. "I gave 50 years to battle. I watched friends die. I sacrificed everything for duty, and when it was over, I realized I had nothing left. No family, no joy, no life worth living." The human speaks wisdom. Duty without happiness becomes prison. Other counselors began nodding. Some still looked skeptical, but the mood was shifting. The head counselor sighed. "Very well. Princess, your choice will stand, but understand we will watch the situation closely. That is acceptable." Lyrana said. Jake and Lyrana left the council chamber together. "You were incredible in there," Lyrana said, squeezing his hand. He was terrified. Jake admitted, "Yet you spoke anyway." Lyrana said, "That is what courage truly means." They returned to the ship and to their growing life together. Months became a year. Then too Jake aged, while Lyrana remained unchanged. Her species lived for thousands of years, and she showed no signs of aging while Jake knew he was getting older. It bothered him sometimes, the knowledge that their time together was limited. But Lyrana refused to let it darken their happiness. "I will love you for as long as you are here," she told him. "And I will remember you long after that is enough." Jake tried to accept that, but the fear of leaving her alone haunted him. Then Draken the telepath approached him privately one day. "Human," he said, "we should speak." Jake tensed. "What do you want to help?" Draken said, surprising him. "I have been wrong about you. I see that now you truly care for her and she is happier than I have ever seen her." "Okay," Jake said cautiously. "So what do you want to give you time?" Draken said, "My people have developed life extension technology. It could give you centuries, perhaps 1,000 years. It is experimental, but it works." Jake stared at him. "Why would you do this?" "Because the princess deserves happiness," Draken said simply. "And because I have realized that love is rarer and more valuable. Then I believed I cannot have her, but I can ensure she does not lose you too soon." Jake felt overwhelmed. "Can it really work?" "Yes," Draken said. "But you must choose. The process is irreversible and it will change you. How you will age much slower. Your body will be stronger, more resilient, but you will still be mortal. Still human, just with more time." Jake thought about it. More time with Lyrana. More years to explore the galaxy, to learn to grow. "Yes," he said. "I want it." The process took weeks. Draken and his team used technology Jake didn't understand: nanomachines, genetic modification, cellular regeneration. It was painful, but Jake endured it. When it was over, he felt different, stronger, more aware, and when he looked in the mirror, he saw that the small lines around his eyes had faded. He looked younger, healthierly. Raina cried when she learned what he had done. "You did not have to do this," she said. "I know," Jake replied, "but I wanted to. I want as much time with you as possible." She held him close. "Thank you," she whispered. Their life continued. Jake now had centuries ahead of him. He learned faster, his mind sharper, his body more capable. He became more than just Lyrana's companion. He became her partner in truth. Together they worked to improve life across her empire. They established new treaties, opened trade routes, helped developing civilizations. Jake brought human perspective and Lyrana brought alien wisdom. They faced challenges, rebellions, political plots, assassination attempts, but they faced them together. 5 years after Jake left the Wandering Hope, he and Lyrana stood together on a platform overlooking her empire's capital city. Lights stretched to the horizon. Billions of beings from hundreds of species all living together. "We have done well," Lyrana said. "We have," Jake agreed. She turned to him. "There is something I wish to ask you." "What's that?" "Marry me," Lyrana said simply. "Not for politics, not for duty, but because I love you and I want to spend my life with you." Jake felt tears in his eyes. "Yes," he said. "Absolutely yes." They married in a ceremony that blended human and Zeltharian traditions. Thousands attended, representatives from across the galaxy. When they exchanged vows, Jake spoke from his heart. "I was nobody," he said, "just a maintenance guy on a colony ship floating through space, but you saw me, truly saw me. You crossed the galaxy to find me, and in doing so, you gave my life meaning. I promised to stand beside you, to support you, to love you for as long as I lively," Rana responded. "I was surrounded by people who wanted me for what I could give them: power, status, wealth. But you wanted only me. You taught me that I deserve happiness, that duty and joy can coexist. I promised to cherish you, to respect you, to choose you every day, for the rest of my life." They kissed and the crowd erupted in celebration. Years passed, decades. Jake and Lyrana built a life together. They had children, something that should have been impossible between their species, but love and advanced science found a way. 2 daughters and a son, each one unique, each one carrying traits from both parents. They watched their children grow. They dealt with the normal problems of any family: arguments, misunderstandings, learning experiences. Jake taught his children about humanity, about Earth, about where he came from. Lyrana taught them about Zeltharian culture, about leadership, about responsibility. Together they raised a family that represented hope for the galaxy, proof that different species could not just coexist but thrive together. The Wandering Hope eventually reached its destination and established a successful colony. Jake received messages from Amy and Helen telling him about their new home, inviting him to visit. And Lyrana went together with their children. Jake walked on solid ground for the first time in years, breathing air that smelled like growing things. The colonists welcomed them as heroes. Jake Morgan, who had left as a maintenance worker, had returned as consort to an alien princess, proof that humans could make their mark on the galaxy. But Jake didn't think of himself as a hero. He was just someone who had taken a chance, who had said yes when adventure called, who had chosen love over fear as they prepared to leave the colony. Lyrana's youngest daughter asked her a question. "Mama, why did you choose Papa all those years ago?" "Why him?" Lyrana smiled and looked at Jake, who was helping load supplies onto their ship. "Because she said he saw me not as a princess or a symbol, but as a person, because he was kind when he could have been afraid, because he chose me as I chose him." "But there were others?" The girl said. "Powerful, important people." Lyrana agreed. "But power and importance mean nothing without understanding, without respect. Without love, your father gave me those things, freely asking nothing in return, that is rarer and more valuable than all the empires in the galaxy." The girl thought about this, then nodded. "I understand." "Good," Lyrana said. "Now go help your father before he tries to carry everything himself." The girl ran off laughing. Jake walked back to Lyrana and took her hand, ready to go. She squeezed his fingers. "Yes, always." They boarded their ship, their family together, and left the colony behind as they flew back into space. Jake looked at Lyrana and their children and felt complete. This life, he thought, this impossible, wonderful life, all because an alien princess had chosen to see him. "Everyone desires me, but I choose you." "Human," Lyrana had said all those years ago, and in choosing him she had given both of them something precious, not just love, but the freedom to be themselves, that he thought is worth crossing the galaxy for. The stars stretched out before them, endless and bright, full of possibilities, and they flew into them together, no longer alone, no longer invisible, but seen and loved and whole.